Hi, in today's video I'd like to give you some tips on working on double stops. Whether you're working on double stops in scales just for the purpose of exercise and developing your left hand facility, or if you have a piece that has some troubling double stops and you're having a hard time getting them in tune, I think these tips will help you. So in music, most of us agree that we tune from the bass up. We need to listen to the bass and tune to the bass notes. If you're in orchestra, listen for the bass. If you're in a string quartet, listen to the cello or whoever has the bottom note. So the same should be true for our double stops. We need to make sure that our bottom note is in tune, and then from there we can tune the interval above. So the first job is to get your bottom note accurate, and then don't move it. Okay, now recognizing whether the bottom note is accurately in tune or not, that's a whole different ball game and involves intonation work, using the ringy notes on your violin to help guide you, maybe using a pitch generator or the little tuner needle to help you to verify that the bottom note is in tune, because it's so important that you get rid of that X variable and have a reliable bottom note. All right, so with that out of the way, and that's an ongoing process, but let's assume we've got our bottom note in tune. Here's the process I like to use. I like to play the bottom note, the top note, and then play them together, like this. With little tiny micro adjustments, if I need to make them, I allow myself to make them. But I do try to remember what I had to adjust. I try to take note. If the bottom note landed a little flat and I had to move it up, I try to remember that and fix it the next time. Okay, so you play bottom, top, together. And then listen. And then, if we were playing a scale, the next one. Okay, the next step would be, instead of playing slow notes on both the bottom and the top note, you just give your bottom note just a grace note, just a quick note in front of the top note. So you have to find both notes faster is what I'm trying to get to. So you go, slur it. So you're having to arrive at that double stop a little quicker. The next step in this process is to play the bottom note quickly, like we did in step 2, but hang on to it and play the top note with it. Remember, step 2 was the bottom note alone and the top note alone, and then together. Step 3 is bottom both, you see how we're gradually getting our left hand, we're giving our left hand less and less time to land on those notes. The final step is to play them together. Okay, I remember what notes I played out of tune before, and I'm going to fix them this time. Okay, that's the general way to get you started. Then, of course, you want to try them in slurs. and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the technique that I use when I'm working on, especially on scales, because it works really well for scales. But it should hold true for passages where you're trying to tune your double stops. This method should help to whip your left hand into pretty good shape. Now, some tips to keep in mind when you're working on double stops is to relax your hand. Tension is the enemy, and it'll only make you play out of tune. So relax. Yes, we have to play on 2 strings, but it doesn't take twice the effort, or twice the pressure, or twice the tension. It just requires twice the focus. Okay, another concept to keep in mind is your finger placement. Make sure that you're consistently keeping your fingertips on the same spot on your finger on the string, and that spot is the inner corners of your finger, with your fingers angled towards the scroll. Or in other words, your knuckles here will create a slant going upwards, with your pinky knuckle being the highest. That will keep you on a good finger angle to keep your finger placement consistent. Okay, so keep your finger angle the same. And then the final tip is your bow pressure. Yes, we play on 2 strings, but you do not need double the pressure. You don't. And that's so hard to overcome. And the best way to overcome that tendency is to practice your double stops in pianissimo. What that forces you to do is it forces you to improve your accuracy of the angle your bow is on, so that it hits both strings accurately instead of pushing harder until it hits both strings. You get both strings with accuracy rather than with force. Okay, so I hope those tips will prove as helpful to you as they were to me. Good luck to you, and I'll see you in the next video.